Hello and welcome to today's video. So here I am at the London Book Fair. So this is November 2025. It's an etcfairs show. Now I've never been to this one before. It's at the Royal National because the Bloomsbury Holiday Inn is being refurbished at the moment. And well, the place is really packed. I'm at Dorset Bob's stall, so he's brought up some paperbacks of course, but also some of his high-end hardback first editions and rare signed stuff. The place is full of interesting books. I'm going to have a really good look around and hopefully find some bargains. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay then, so I got in quite early. I think Bob and I arrived at about, when was it, 7:30, there or thereabouts. We were able to park right outside the hotel on the street where there's free parking. And a bit like the Bloomsbury show, you pay to get into London with the ULEZ and the congestion charge. But at least parking on a Sunday is actually free. So it sort of offsets the congestion charge. And well, when we got there, really easy to get into the hotel. And it's been so long since I've been there. I mean, decades really, I think, since I was last here. And the dealers, of course, were still setting up. So I caught what footage I could because Bob only had the one stall this time. I was quite interested in that one, As You Like It, which is my second favourite Folio Society book. The first being Gulliver's Travels, and that one's illustrated by Salvador Dali, no less, which is absolutely amazing. It's a beautiful book inside. And this is a friend of mine, a dealer called Steve. These are books that he actually has in a shop in Hay-on-Wye, but he brought some along to the show today. And as you can see, it's a flurry of activity. The room was pretty big, and I think it was 2/3 of the room, and there's another third which they can extend it out to as required. I think they're going to do that next show in December for the photography fair. So as is traditional, we have £5 books, which are what everyone's unpacking there. Then you got the £3 ones over this side, and at midday they go down to £1 a book. So it's a real opportunity to fill your boots. And I bought a few £3 books, and I bought some £1 books later on in the day as well. So it was fantastic. There's always some good stuff there. And I think my advice to you is, if you see it, buy it. Don't sort of wait and think, oh, I might be able to get it for £1 at 12 o'clock. You won't. Someone else will grab it. So my advice is, if you see it, buy it. But it's always quite interesting to see what's there. You just can't believe sometimes what turns up. And stuff gets sold very, very cheaply. You're only limited with what you can carry. It's probably the best way to describe it. But you can see there's some really good stuff there. And I always see stuff that I wish I picked up and at least had a look at when I do these videos. I think, oh, why didn't I at least pick up and see how much that was? There is some good stuff there. But there you go. But I did buy a few bits. I did buy a few little bits and pieces there. But yeah, definitely some bargains. I mean, you can't beat it, can you? £3 a book, those. Very, very good value for money indeed. Did see quite an early penguin there, so I checked him out because he's in the original livery, but sadly it was a reprint. But it did have a dust wrapper, which was unusual, so it was definitely worth checking. Apparently it's a really good read, that one, Mystics and Magicians in Tibet. Here's just a few more. There were 3 or 4 stalls right down the back wall full of these books. That was another one that caught my attention. Was one of the new naturalists there. And looked in pretty nice nick, that one, Wild Orchids. It's an early one, but once again he was a reprint, 1968. But after 17 years, I quite often the editions on those get updated, so collectors are quite interested in second and sometimes third printings of those because they're updated. So £3, I was and ahhing, and well, you'll see what I did pick up at the show at the end of this video. My what books I managed to find, both hardback, paperback, and others. And stalls are still setting up. The ephemera stalls, which this one is predominantly ephemera, they take a lot of time to get everything out of boxes and on display. And there was a couple of chaps working there, and they were working flat out. This is a viewer of the channel, so thank you. I didn't catch his name, but he did say hello and say you enjoyed the videos, so thank you for that. He had a really good range of travel guides. No London Underground, but he had London Transport for the buses ones. I do like the Underground ones. But I really wasn't sure what to expect at this particular show. Would it be all like modern firsts, or would it be, a bit of this, a bit of that? And I think it was the latter, really. There was Antiquarian, there was modern firsts there, which we'll see. There was paperbacks as well, and lots of ephemera. So it really was a sort of a bit of a mixture of stuff, but really interesting all the same. I think you could say there was something for everybody. There was postcard dealers as well, photograph dealers. All sorts of genres were catered for. Still had some interesting stuff. Yeah, I saw that poster there. I thought for a while it was designed by Baldwin, but it's actually Biz, I think, was the artist on that one, the Ealing Studios one. And this chap was over from France. He was still setting up, but I had a quick look in there just to see what he had. And some of these books did sell during the day. That's an American first of Seven Dials Mystery. And certainly some interesting books. And we will have a much closer look at those a little bit later on when he's got everything out. But this was the first glance. And some of these, of course, had sold by the time I got back to it. The doors opened at 9:30 and there was a real flood of people coming in. I didn't catch the queue this time. I was right in the middle of something, but there was a queue and the people did flood in, and you could really notice it. The room got packed very quickly. Yeah, some interesting books here, that's for sure. A few dealers had some Folio Society. They all seem to have them, to stock them. This was interesting. This stall had a copy of Claudius the God in a dust wrapper, the British one in a dust wrapper. I don't think I've ever seen one in a wrapper before. He had £3.50 on it, which I honestly didn't think was that bad. That Animal Farm there was the second printing in a wrapper. That was also £3.50. But some key books on this stall. Yeah, this one had some cheap and cheerful art books. Art books do tend to be quite good value for money, I find. That I thought was a deal. That was the first of Here in Secret Harmonies, Anthony Paul. Not the greatest condition wrapper, but a £5. I mean, that was a steal, really. Absolute steal. This store had a lot of cookery books, as I recall. Yeah, a few odd vintage pans there, the nail done ones. That one's scarce. There was no price on it, though. But the other one, yeah, Poor Cow, £12 each. hardback first. A couple of nice early Elizabeth Davids there. It's an example of some ephemera bits and pieces. I mean, absolutely fascinating to look at this stuff. I don't know quite how you collect it. It's not something you sort of collect by sort of area, don't you? Area of interest rather than by a particular thing. And quite nice, the Collins Crime Club card game. I do have a set of those. They were produced by White Circle, the Collins White Circle Crime. And worth picking up if you ever see a set. There was no price on those, but generally they're about £30 on eBay for a set. A little bit of early SF there, not a lot. And I've certainly spotted a few things when I've been editing this video that I think, oh, why didn't I check this or why didn't I check that? But you just sometimes when you're at a show, you can't take it all in initially. You do sort of need a few walks around. And dealers sometimes change their stalls and the layouts and that. And of course, stuff sells and they can put more stuff out. This is something Dorset Bob showed me. This book's actually only from 1979. It's a very fine binding. He did tell me the publisher, but I can't for the life of me remember it. It's by J.B. Priestley. It was limited and signed. There we are. Arcadia Press, that's it, yeah. In 1970. So not that old. It looks older, but the binding is incredible. The book weighs a lot. It comes in its own bespoke box. And signed by J.B. Priestley, so quite the item. Bob did sell that to another dealer. I think she was called Louise. She was also at the show, and I think it was slightly north of 150, I believe, that one. So not too bad value at all, I didn't think, for that. A few cheap and cheerful bits from Bob there. He's also got to run a little folio Society books. Also signed copies there. You can easily see with the little sticker on the side there. It's quite nice. The Chester course, I think it's like a horse racing thing. He sold that. That sold. Can't remember if Jurgen sold. But yeah, some interesting books there. A couple of the Big Dan Dare books. Once again, I'm amazed they haven't sold because they're really well priced. And of course, he brought along a few boxes of paperbacks just to say he had a few there. He certainly wasn't the only one with paperbacks. I don't know if he sold much. I think he may have sold a few. But when you do a new show, you're never quite sure what to bring or what the show's sort of punters are going to be like. Now, this was the stall opposite. This is Mike. He's also from Dorset. He doesn't live too far from Dorset Bob, actually. And Mike was at the last paperback show, and he brought many boxes of paperbacks and a pretty good look through these. So we'll have a look through as I look through. I've only had to skip some of them when the screen goes dark, and I've cut because the books are of a slightly risque nature, shall we say, and this is a clean channel, as best I can anyway. It's an unusual arrow. Yeah, it's some interesting New English Library. Some of those, like what we would call biker books, but they're not all obviously biker books, but you know what I mean. The Rockers. That's nice, that Merritt copy. Avon again. Absolutely beautiful example of that one. For 45 though. Maybe one day. That's a nice movie tie-in. The Frank Sinatra film, Man with the Golden Arm, where he plays a heroin addict. I think it's heroin. I remember it being particularly good. Also, that wasn't too bad. Certainly some interesting books on this stall. Classic SF there from Avon and Panther. The Bride in the Bath. It's quite a nice one. Yeah, that's a Canadian white circle. Don't see those in the UK very often. That's nice, the Witchfinders, and then probably one of the more expensive books on Mike's stall, Marijuana Girl. Yeah, some unusual books here, books you don't really see very often. Another great Popular Library, which is a publisher I really do like, is Popular Library. Obviously plenty of British ones. A fair batch of Bond on the stall, and in reasonably high grade. That's always a nice bantam, that Donovan's Brain. That's a Penguin Poetry. That is a reprint of Clockwork Orange. Not the greatest example there. Some more Avons and bits and pieces here. Sure, I've seen that cover somewhere before. La Dolce Vita. It's a little Boardman. Oh no, Popular Library again, wasn't it? Yeah. Some more Bonds. There's loads of Bond there, actually. Although I didn't see a single copy of Casino Royale, but I think pretty much every other one was there if you wanted it in pan first, at least. And there was a good mix of American ones there as well. That's a movie adaptation of Straw Dogs. And there's Tales of Chinatown, which I have had my eye on at the last show, and it is one I'm after. It is an iconic paperback, that one. It really is. Pretty cool, that. Now, there's some nice PEFs and pans here, of course. And Mike had a good little range of pan books, as you can see. Another copy of that poetry book from Penguin. Odd Foursquare, which you don't see very often. Yep, some interesting stuff. I think you'll agree. And I think Mike was pretty busy most of the day because he had such a. I mean, I think he had 3 stalls, so he had quite the selection of books. But he did also have like postcards and old photographs, some ephemera as well. So he did have a bit of a mixture of stuff, but it was all good. And consequently, had some busy customers. I think people are buying quite a bit off him, including me. I bought some books, and so did Bob. Bob bought a handful as well for his own collection. Pan Book of Horror Stories, always really sought after and collectible. We just finished the last couple of boxes, and then we'll have a look through some brand new stock that Micah got hold of, which was all at £8 a book, but it was super high quality condition wise, which was really nice, really outstanding. And it was from another collector who lives nearby him, and he brought it along. It was the first time these particular books had gone out, so we'll have a look at those in just a sec. But there was still a few bits to look at in here. just in the names of completeness. Arctic Doctor. A French one there. Some more nice pans. And yeah, there's some good ones there in nice shape. Pans are getting harder and harder to find in nice condition, but they are out there if you're patient enough. And certainly I've got plenty that I'd like to upgrade at some point when I get round to it. Yeah, lots and lots of lovely pan books. And some real early ones there as well, some of the early numbered only series, as well as the classic great pans. A Spy with a Cold Nose, don't see that one very often. The movie tie-in. Another scarce one there, actually. That's one of the Beacon SF ones. Quite a few Badger in this box, and these are all at £5 a pop. These unpriced ones were £5 each, which isn't too bad a price, really. And I believe Mark did give a bit of discount if you bought a few. It's got a nice panther, or corgi rather. It's another box of £5 each on Mark's store. I checked that copy of Octopussy because the actual pan first of that is very scarce. The reprint is much more common. I believe the first saw went out to Australia. The corgi there. And a few penguins in here as well, but nothing I think I needed myself. A few odd westerns. Yeah, he had one or two badgers, which on reflection, I wish I'd checked now against my list because I think I do actually need them. And £5 with a little bit of discount isn't too bad for a badger these days. It's not like they're turning up all the time, because they're just not. And this is channel supporter David Hyman, and he had a selection of books from the £8 box. Predominantly crime titles, I think is what he's into. So got him to give us a little show what he picked up. And that's quite a scarce digest, that Murder. In very, very nice shape indeed, as you can see. Very, very nice condition. And these are more books. These are all £8. This is the first time these books have been on offer to anyone, and freshly bagged and looking very crisp on the whole. Predominantly American, but there was a few odd British ones in here as well. Certainly I'm less familiar with the American books. Know the publishers, of course, but not all the artists or what have you. It's interesting, that quite a nice little cover on that pocket. Earl Stanley Gardner. I do love the Avon ones, but they tend to be pricey. Out of all the vintage American publishers, I think I do like the Popular Library, followed by Avon. I think that's probably my preference. You see there's a few odd British ones in these boxes. American Fleming there. There's another one. Movie tie-in to Last Tango in Paris. So we're flicking over a few of the more risque ones. Maybe tie-in to Matt Helm. It's a Del Matt back, but it's one of the romance ones, so to me not really worth £8. I do collect them, but the romance ones are the bottom of my list, really. They're not that great. It's all peacock there, walkabout, but it's actually quite a scarce peacock, that one. That particular one. And then we are on to some more regular Antiquarian books now in first editions. Most of the dealers have managed to set up by now, most of them. And as I said, some of their stalls evolved throughout the day as stuff was selling. You know, they had room then to get the next bigger piece out. The stalls did have quite a few interesting things, including what he described just as miniature books, you know, miniature books and proper books at that. They weren't like, you know, antiques or, you know, made to look like books. They did actually have pages inside, which is like, this is mad. And you'll see them in just a minute. And he had a lot of them as well. Never quite seen so many. But yeah, an interesting stall to be sure. Lots of private press stuff there. There they are, look at all those miniature books, look, shelves of them. Not particularly cheap, but if you like miniature books, this stall catered for you very well, you could say. And by now, most places have set up. This is the ephemera stall in the corner, and they just about managed to get all their gear out. Always nicely presented. They take their time and get it looking good. A whole box of sort of tube-related stuff, but a little early for me. I don't really have much in the tube prior to the mid-70s, you know, but they did have some really early stuff there, but not cheap. Now that, which we'll have a look at in a minute, that caught my eye. So this is, it's a fold-out advertising booklet for Shell from about 1936, 37, I believe, and designed by Edward Baldwin. So actually, concertina's out. They had 250 on it, which, you know, it's I don't know if that's the going rate or not. I mean, in that condition, with the foxing and stuff, it wasn't worth that to me, but it was still lovely to have a little look at it. Okay, so I'm here with Kim Jeffrey. Kim, you're the organiser of the show. First time I've been to this one in many, many years, but I'm really glad I've come up. I've had a great day today. Yeah. It's still really quite busy, isn't it? It's still
it is, yeah, because it's quite late in the afternoon now. We've had a lot of people through the door today, which I'm surprised at, because this fair is usually the second Sunday of the month.
Right, yeah.
This time it's the third Sunday of the month. We had to come a week later, so I wasn't sure if that wouldn't put a few people off, but no, it hasn't. And we've been very
Christmas
busy.
is around the corner, isn't it?
I suppose so.
I think there might be a few people looking for presents and that.
Yeah.
So obviously, we're in the Bedford Hotel. We're not in our usual
We're in the Royal
holiday
National Hotel.
Royal National Hotel, Bedford Way. Is that
Bedford
right?
Way,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
it,
Yeah. But we're not usually here.
No.
So what's the plan going forward? How many more at this venue then?
So our normal venue is still being renovated.
The Holiday
That's
Inn, yeah.
the Holiday Inn,
Okay.
which isn't far, it's just across the road.
Yeah.
That's due to be finished, and we're back there February the 8th.
Okay.
So we're here for December and January, and then back at our old venue from February.
So just the next two more shows.
Just the next
Make
2
sure we go to
months,
this one and not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice venue, this.
Yeah.
We were here for over 20 years.
Wow, right.
So we're familiar with this venue.
Yeah.
It's all in one big room. It is really nice.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, it's unaffordable.
Right. Okay. Fair
Which
enough.
is why we moved, because it is such a big room.
Yeah.
But at the moment, because this hotel owns the franchise to the one that's being refurbished, so they've let us come here at a special rate.
Ah, right. Right. Oh,
But it has been very disruptive for all our
Yeah.
exhibitors and visitors, because we've, first of all, they said we couldn't come here, we had to find an alternative venue. That fell through. So this year it has been very disrupted. I'm hoping that from February, once we're back in the old hotel, we can have a clear run and
back
get
into
back
the swing of it, yeah.
to a routine. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, Bob and I had no problem parking today on the street. It's free on the street, which is great in the middle of London.
Yeah.
And loading that wasn't too bad either at all.
And this hotel, it's all on one level. There's no steps.
Does help, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely helps.
Yeah.
So, well, we know the plan then going forward. Obviously, for a lot of viewers of my channel, we're waiting for a paperback show date.
I know.
And you're a bit stuck. You can't give us that info just yet.
Only because the ephemera fair, the hotel, when it's refurbished, there may be some changes to the room and the layout of the room.
Yeah.
And until I know exactly how that room layout has changed, I don't know whether I can accommodate it in the same way as I did before.
Right,
so I can't book anything and then have to cancel it or whatever. So I'm hoping either next month when we're here, but at the latest the January fair, I can go across the road and have a look at the room and see how it's laid out, and then I can start to make plans for next year. So hopefully I can get some dates in. But until then, especially because there's been so much disruption this year, I don't want to book dates and then I've got to cancel them or amend them or whatever. So I'm
get a date and then
off.
we can stick to it.
I'm holding off until I see what the room looks like. It's much more difficult to run the ephemera fair than this, which is predominantly a book fair, although there's ephemera, paperbacks and all that here. Someone trying to get in the door there. Because an ephemera fair or postcard fair, people tend to have 2 or 3 tables.
Right.
So I have to lay the room out differently. Here, dealers tend to just have 1 table. So it's much easier to know how much room I need.
I've been amazed at the variety of this one. It's been fantastic again, and I've ended up buying stuff. Even though it's not paperbacks, there were still paperbacks here. Lots of stalls had them, and all dealers have a few, don't they, nowadays?
I mean, this is called the Bloomsbury Book Fair, and it is predominantly books. But there's pulps, paperbacks, second-hand books. There's books starting from £1.
Absolutely.
But then you'll find books here for thousands.
I've seen that as
well.
So
there's
absolutely.
the whole range of it.
I think books against the wall, they're at £1. I saw the dearest book I seen was a first of 1984 for £2,500.
I
mean, how often do you come across one of them? That's a real special book there. So it's still for sale. I'm going to pass this time around. But I certainly hope to come up to a few more, definitely. And obviously, as soon as we got the info, I'll share it with viewers on the channel.
Well, our next fair, if anyone's interested, is our Christmas fair here on December the 14th. And running alongside that, we've got a photograph fair going on.
Oh, brilliant. Which we have done before, and that was
had them before.
also it's really interesting.
Nice. And so we have, at the moment, we're only using 2/3 of this room, but next month we're taking the whole room, so there's an extra third, so it's bigger than this.
Even bigger,
And because the photograph people are in the other side of it. So we're hoping that's going to be quite a busy fair, and we're looking forward to that.
Brilliant, and a great time as well. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us again, keeping us in the loop, and I'll be back again soon.
And if everybody just checks the website, any details are on there.
You got it, absolutely. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Always good to have a little catch up with Kim, the organiser, and see what's happening with the fairs in London. They had a bit of a turbulent year with the Bloomsbury Holiday Inn going through their extensive refit, but they've managed to keep the fairs going, which is excellent. This, once again, look at this, another Edward Borden letter to author Carol Shields. He had £350 on this. It's a double-sided letter thanking her for the complimentary book and saying how much he enjoyed it. I got to admit, I was tempted, but £350 once again was a little pricey for me, sadly. More folio there and a run of Max Hastings. Not sure what that is. Yeah, boy. There's a set of the American Churchill's Second World War, history of the Second World War. A little bit spine faded on those. Interested in that Spike Milligan book there. Once again, some nice books on this stall, some art books, poetry. Yep, some very interesting books, a bit of history, art and design. All good subjects. Now this is another stall, so I've had lots and lots of ephemera. Hinge and bracket, I mean, wow. Lots of like posters and flyers and stills, as you can see, all sorts really. You just had to sort of work your way through it. So for most of the show, the stall was pretty much besieged, and it was only later in the day I was able to go over and have a proper look. This stall had a nice run of, this is the French chap, had a very nice run of the first editions, and I got to have he got all his stock out by now. And we get to see that first edition of 1984 in a second dust wrapper. That was 2,500 for that one. So first edition in a second edition dust wrapper. A third print in a Lord of the Flies. And a first of that Frank Herbert. I don't know the price of the other two though. But very nice. Nice run of Robert Van Gulik there. You don't see those very often. Some Collins Crime. I mean, some nice titles there, really. Okay, as is traditional, I like to show you what I picked up at the fair. So I got this one off book dealer Steve, a really nice chap. I've had stuff off him before. This is, of course, an early Folio Society book. It's in the dust wrapper. It's one of their early Shakespeare ones, illustrated by none other than Salvador Dali. It's my second favourite Folio Society book after Gulliver's Travels illustrated by Edward Borden. And this one's fantastic. It's just got these amazing Salvador Dali illustrations in, which I guess he was in his heyday, wasn't he? In the 50s. That was the back cloth. So these were the actual designs used in a theatre production of As You Like It. Very Dali-esque, isn't it? This was a tenner, so I did very, very well on that one. Very well indeed. I have already got it, but I wanted to compare the copy against my own one. Interestingly, I think my one has got a faded spine, but this one's got a few marks on it, so I'm going to have to weigh it up. But in its wrapper, it is quite a scarcity, and it was well worth £10. Off book dealer Mike, this chap opposite Dorset Bob, who had lots of those £8 paperbacks. I picked these ones up. It's Popular Library. And it's a publisher I really do like, but I only like to pick them up when they're tip-top shape. Now, there wasn't a lot of crime ones. These more sort of bridge over into bad boy stroke romance ones. But just look at the cover art. They're just fantastic. And these are high quality copies. So I got 4 from the £8 box there. Just look at the spine art there. Very, very nice indeed. I've got some Popular Library in my collection already, so it's always nice to get some more. And then I treated myself to Tales of Chinatown, which was the dearest book I bought at the show. It's one I've had my eye on for a while, and Mike did give me some discount off this, so I didn't pay the full retail price. And that's one, it's an absolute classic by Sax Rohmer and a definitive early vintage paperback. So I was really pleased with those. Then off book dealer Jeremy, who was also fairly close to Dorset Bob, I picked up 2 books. This was actually the first book I bought on the day. It's one I haven't got. It's a Collins White Circle. It's like their non-fiction line. It's like numbered, I think, 505 or something like that. The Gas War of 1940. Pretty good, that one. And then I picked this one up, which is a reprint of Pam Books number 55 of, as you can see, The Moving Finger, and it's got a completely different cover to the original. Jeremy had 6 on it, so he let me have it for 5, which I was happy to pay in this condition. 1950, so it's the second printing with a different jacket. So and I didn't have it. At least I don't think I had that one. So that was particularly good. So I was really pleased with those. Then on the £3 stall, I picked up 1 New Naturalist and 1 Folio Society. So I have started picking up the New Naturalists. I was hoping for a few more first editions at the show, but there was a handful there, but they just weren't up to scratch. This one is actually a reprint of number 19, Wild Orchids, but I think it's like a revised edition. It was the second from 1968, and it was a first. It was £3, that one, so I didn't think that was bad at all, in all honesty. And I picked up the 1 Folio Society book for £3, which is The Classic Daughter of Time by Josephine Tay. One of her greatest, if not her greatest book, to be honest. And this was a nice Folio Society edition there. There are quite a few Folio Society books. 2006, they're not even that old. And that was £3 as well. So I was very, very pleased to get that. But that's not all. I still had a few more pickups at the show. So, as you know, the £3 stall goes down to £1 at about midday. So these books here were £1 each. So I picked up 3 vintage penguins, a couple of Buildings of England. That one's in its wrapper, but it's got a little stamp on it. And there's the one for London, which is always fairly sought after. And then quite a big reference book. Not massively collectible, any of those, but they were certainly worth £1 each to me. And 1 other Folio Society book, which was also £1. It's one from 1955. I did check, it was one I have already got, but for the sake of £1, I might even keep it back as a reading copy. But it's got a little bit of wear, and mine is actually not too bad. I've got a pretty nice copy of this one, but I couldn't leave it behind for £1, not for a nice early Folio Society book. So there we are. I think I had a pretty good haul, all things considered. It was a bit of a mixed day, I think, for the dealers. Some of them had a particularly good time, if they had the gear there. Others, I think, not so good. The turnout was great, though, so there's definitely people looking for stuff. And as I said, as you can see, I had a great time. I picked up plenty to add to my collection, so I was really, really pleased with that one. Thanks again for Kim for putting on the show at the etcfairs website for all the latest ones, including the one next month, so you can keep bang up to date, plus of course all the shows next year. Thanks very much for watching today. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, do please give it that thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button if you're not already for regular vintage paperback action, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.